I try. I really try to turn off the news and like just tune out, is what I was trying to say. Tune out from all of what's going on. It's like not good for my brain. I don't think it's good for any of us to be too tuned in. But even if I really try to not pay attention, it's like it comes through anyway. I get the news, the big news as of yesterday is the government shutdown here in the United States. Government shutdown. Government is like, they're going to, I don't know, there are all sorts of threats flying back and forth and all of that. And it's another thing, right? It's another thing, like if you're paying attention that you have to deal with, like especially if you're a scientist or researcher, then you're going to be directly affected by this, potentially, depending on how long it goes on. If it's just a day or two, maybe you won't be affected very much. But if it's longer, then things like grant reviews are not going to happen. And funding the payments on grants and all of that kind of stuff is going to pause. Then also the employees at places like NIH, NSF are going to be impacted and hopefully not laid off by the threats from this current administration. We'll see what happens with that. I really feel for those people. It's got to be such a tough time to be like a program officer, be working at NSF or NIH right now, and just like being so much more connected to this, not just via the news, but via the actual, like what is happening and being like furloughed or whatever. Like, so it's crazy. And even if you're not part of that, even if you're more peripherally affected, or even if you're just like me, who is mainly affected right now through the clients that I work with, the people that I work with, it's like disturbing and upsetting. But I don't want this to be a gloom and doom video. I really want it to be the opposite, because I want to talk to you about like how I've dealt with this, and also a framework that I've been thinking about recently as part of this class that I've been teaching for some people. And it's a framework that can really help with this, to help understand what we do mentally when we're encountering news like this. And whether it's a shutdown, or whether it's a meeting of generals, or whether it's whatever pronouncement it is, the latest in the long assault of, for most of us who look at this and think it's kind of crazy, you could just say it's another in the long list of these assaults. So this particular thing is very easy to, for me anyway, to spin out into all of the bad things that could happen, to use my mind to say, okay, government shutdown, maybe they don't seem interested in coming to agreement, maybe this goes on for a long time, maybe it gets used as leverage to, do more authoritarian things and blah, 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 blah. And I can imagine a lot of different things that could happen. And that's the key word I want to talk about. Imagine. It's interesting because I've been working a lot in this new course with different faculties that we have. And one of those faculties is our imagination. And imagination, very different than reasoning. Like, they're like oil and water. They don't really mix. There can be an interface between the two, and where we can go back and forth and ground our imagination and reasoning, and vice versa and all that. I don't want to get too theoretical here, but it's really interesting to think about imagination and how we use it. And I think it's really underappreciated in our society. Like, we treat imagination almost as something that, like younger people who dream big, they're supposed to dream big. And then like people who work at Disney or whatever are supposed to do, or big companies like that. I shouldn't mention that name right now because I know like that there are some issues there too. But anyway, so you're supposed to dream big. But then the rest of us who work every day, it seems like dreaming doesn't have much of an impact. It's not really like a thing. And I believe that it should be a thing, that it is a thing that we should be paying more attention to, especially if we're concerned about what's going on. That like the two are connected. Like what we're doing with our imagination, like we still imagine, I still imagine anyway, But as I've reflected on this, I realized most of what I imagine are the negative scenarios. I don't imagine, I'm not very good anymore. I used to be better when I was younger, but I'm not very good anymore at imagining the positive possibilities and scenarios. It's like the older I have become, the more that positive imagination has been shut down and put into a little box that says, no, don't dream big. I've got my ideas about why that is too, but this shutdown is like something that we can easily imagine bad things happening. And I do that automatically. And I know many people who do, maybe not everybody, but I think some of us, the human response we have is, well, you got to think positive. Don't think negative. We all have a sense that thinking negative is bad. So how have I responded to this? And I think I'm not the only one. It's by just shutting down my imagination. So either I'm thinking about something, sort of imagining potential negative outcomes of a situation, or if I'm saying, well, that's bad, I shouldn't do that, I should just think positive. Really, that amounts to just shutting it all down, rather than actually true thinking positive would be then imagining something positive, imagining what good could come from these things. And I know it's hard to find, but actually, if you use imagination, you can find multiple ways in which the things that are happening might turn out good in the end, not just bad. But it seems so much harder to do, and I think it's discouraged in our society. We're okay, like it's okay for us to dream negatively. That's accepted, that's a social norm. But for us to dream positively and really picture, okay, so, there's a government shutdown. What if this really raises awareness and gets people like looking at the situation and saying, we've had enough, and brings people together, so there's more social cohesion of less people fighting binary politics of one side or the other, and more people coming together and saying, hey, let's solve some of these problems. And I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm saying I can imagine that if I'm intentionally doing that. But again, the problem is that by default, I don't do that. And most people I know who are in their adulthood or beyond don't do that regularly. It's not like a thing that we practice, that we intentionally do. And I think it's a really powerful practice when we start taking control back of our imagination. I think in some ways our imagination has been hijacked we give our imagination away to movies and TV and books and the news and all of that, and they imagine for us, and so we imagine less, only in very narrow domains that we're programmed to imagine in, where it's acceptable, like of all the gloom and doom, because gloom and doom news sells, and so it's acceptable to just buy into it and say, yeah, okay, it's all going to shit. Excuse my French. So I just think that disempowers us in the end. Imagination is really powerful. Since this is getting long, I'll talk about that in another video another time. It's super powerful. And I want to take that control back for myself and for yourself, because I think if we can all take back the control of our imagination and imagine how good things can come, not just bad things, but good things, we will be so much more inspired, enlivened, enlightened, and powerful. And we'll be more likely to actually work together to bring some of those imagined positive scenarios into fruition. So let's use that imagination. Now, I imagine you hitting that subscribe button, hitting the like button, making a comment, just because it really helps me out to do more of this. I don't do this, I don't get any kind of monetization, at least not right now. Someday I may have to, just to help pay the bills, but right now, no monetization. It's just something that I'm doing to try to help. And so I really hope you'll give me what you can in terms of like, subscribe, all of that kind of stuff, and go out and imagine. Imagine not only the negative, and notice when you're doing it, but also imagine the positive. There's so much we can see that's still positive. Like I'm here, I'm by the lake. There were a lot of people wandering around out there, and I didn't want to get disturbed in the middle of the video, so I came here into the car. But It's just, you look out, and maybe you don't have a lake right nearby that you can go sit by, but I'm sure there's a park or a trail or something, someplace you can go that you can look around and say, I really appreciate this. I can imagine something positive when I'm sitting in this place. All right. See you later.